Hello everyone, I'm Shisong and I'm a car fan, car addicted, and also I'm fond of French cars like Peugeot, Citroën, DS Automobile, and Renault. So today, maybe this is the first video that I've shared on the YouTube, and I want to introduce you the difference between the Citroën C5 Aircross in China and in Europe. Let's find out.
In terms of exterior, you could see that they are almost identical. Whether it is the 18-inch Pulsar aluminum alloy rims, Michelin tires, stainless steel window trim, or black roof rack, they are all the same. The bitone roof is optional in China.
So from the exterior, there's not much difference between these two Citroën C5 Aircross. So the only difference you could find from the exterior is here, the exhaust tip. The exhaust tip on the Chinese version of the Citroën C5 Aircross is stainless steel, but in the European version, is the part shared with the Peugeot 3008 and is a chrome plastic part. And another difference at the rear is the nameplate here. You could see here's a nameplate of Dongfeng Citroën. Dongfeng Xuetielong is the name of the joint venture of Group Dongfeng and Group Stellantis. And also, you could see here, just below the Citroën C5 Aircross, there's a little nameplate 400 THP, which means this car was equipped with a 1-liter 8 turbocharged petrol engine, which I will introduce you later. In terms of the interior, the first difference that you could see is the steering wheel. The design of the steering wheel in China is 4 spokes design, but in Europe it's 3 spokes. But you could see the multifunction buttons zone here is exactly the same than the European version. Another difference here is this 10-inch screen system. This system was called C-Connect 3 and was developed by Huawei, China Unicom, and DPCA, Dongfeng Peugeot Citroën Automobile Company. And with this system, you could see there are lots of functions like the car networking, OTA updates, app store, etc. And there's one function really practical. You could see the 360
degrees
parking camera. You could see all the ways very clearly. And in the console zone, you could see the Citroën C5 Aircross in China keep the design of the automatic gear selector and the grip control knob. Because in previous surveys, many of the Chinese Citroën C5 Aircross owners prefer the previous design of these buttons and this selector, so the DPCA keep it. And for the seats, for the interior color trim, you could see the seats in the Chinese version with the Alcantara, gray Alcantara, and with deep blue synthetic leather. So it looks very clear in the car. And also on the door, there are little decoration which are different to the French version. And there's another big difference of the Chinese version of the Citroën C5 Aircross is the rear seats of this car. Because you could see here is not 3 independent seats, it's traditional 1:2 ratio rear seats like the Peugeot 3008 and DS7. And also I've heard the rear seats of the Citroën C5 Aircross in China are moved back 5 centimeters back to the trunk, which means the depth of the trunk is reduced by 5 centimeters, and you could see the volume is different. This change to meet the Chinese demand for the second row of passenger footroom. You could see here is very good for me, but unfortunately you could see here the middle headrest are reduced too. The last difference is the powertrain of the Citroën C5 Aircross. In China, we only have 2 finishes, which is named of 360 THP, and like this is the 400 THP, which represents the 2 different motors in China. In China, we only have petrol turbocharged engine like the EP6 and the EP8. You could see this is the EP8. This engine is 1 liter 8 turbocharged engine which has 211 horsepower, and this engine is equipped with the 8-speed automatic gearbox. Maybe you know this engine is unique for the Chinese market because in China, for the competitors of the Citroën C5 Aircross like the Volkswagen Tiguan, Ford Kuga, and also like Honda CR-V, Kia Sportage, they are all equipped with
Powerful
turbocharged engine. So this engine at first was developed for the first generation of the Citroën C5, Peugeot 508, and you know the Chinese Citroën C6, and also equipped on the DS5 and DS6. And now this engine of the EP8 engine is the second generation on the Citroën C5 Aircross, Peugeot 4008, 5008, and Peugeot 508L, which I will talk to you later. So when I drive this Citroën C5 Aircross Chinese version in countryside or on mountains like now, I think the dynamic performance is as good as the European version. You could see the chassis, the suspension is really stable. Although the suspension we could know with the progressing hydraulic cushion with this technology, this car is really comfort. But also this car with the same platform as the Peugeot 3008 and also the DS7, it could also bring me some driving pleasure on the mountains. And due to its stronger powertrain, the 1 liter 8 turbocharged petrol engine with 211 horsepower, you could see the acceleration on the mountains. Really brisk. I think it's much faster than the 1 liter 2 3-cylinder engine that I have driven the last year. So here are all the difference between the Citroën C5 Aircross in China and in Europe, and we could see the engineer of Group Stellantis had adopted the local conditions for Chinese consumers. And now talk about the price. The price of the Citroën C5 Aircross in China is from 19,000 euros to 23,000 euros. You could see, wow, maybe this will surprise you because it's almost half of the price of the C5 Aircross in France, in Europe. But actually, I will show you a price list of its competitors, like the Volkswagen Tiguan Allspace, which is called the Volkswagen Tiguan L in China, and also for the Kia Sportage, the Toyota RAV4, and also the Peugeot 4008 in China. Compared with the price, the Citroën C5 Aircross in China has a reasonable price. And now maybe you know there's a price war in China, maybe launched by some Chinese automakers like BYD and Geely. And actually now in China, you could buy this car maybe just paid for 50,000 euros. So that's all for my first video shared on the YouTube, and I hope you like it. If you like it, maybe you could tap the like button just below the video. And this is my first video, and after that maybe I will show you the difference between the other Chinese-made Peugeot and Citroën and compared with the European version. And also I will show you some review of the Chinese car in Europe. See you soon!